Hey guys, welcome to Thursday. It is the Chad Prather Show. Glad you guys decided to join today. I'm not going to keep you long. I just was reading some things this morning, and I thought, you know what, those would be some fun things to share with everybody. So I want to do that. I would love to see you guys there in the chat. Put some of those emojis in there. Where's my dancing bananas? Give me some of those dancing bananas and some American flags. Anyway, I hope you guys have had a great week. We're heading into the weekend. I am local this week, which is nice. Get to sleep in my own bed, and going to be speaking at the Meat Ministry that is, of course, sponsored by the Lone Star Cowboy Church here in Montgomery, Texas. They do a fantastic work over there. It's actually an oversold event, so they're going to be pulling out chairs. Giving away meat to people who are hungry. I think they give about 14,000 pounds of beef to flood victims there in Kerrville, the people that were victims, of course, of the Guadalupe flood just last month. So they're doing a fantastic work, man, and honored to be a part of what they're doing this week. And then we've got a lot of stuff going on. I don't have any shows coming up. It's a lot of speaking events, which is the thing that I love to do, is conventions and galas and things like that. So I'm going to be doing a little bit of travel to do those. If you have an event coming up and you need a speaker in this next year, shoot me a message over at watchchad.com. That's where all the fun stuff is. And there's a little link over there. I had somebody walk up to me at a ribbon cutting last night in Conroe, Texas. And they said, we're trying to book you for some speaking gigs. How do we do it? And I said, go to watchchad.com or chadprather.com. And click the in the menu. It says Book Chad. I don't know how to say that any easier. I'd love to see you guys in the chat. Tell me if there's another way to say that. Is that confusing when I say Book Chad? I think I know what that means, but who knows? Maybe that means arrest Chad. I don't know. But I'd love to come to your event. I'd love to be a part of what you guys are doing. We always have a good time when I'm there because I make things fun, baby. And you guys make things fun, so I'm glad you're here today. I'm gonna give you a little history, gonna give you a little lighthearted story, give you a little Bible snippet maybe. Just some stuff to encourage you, something to think about as you walk into the weekend today. Before I do that, I want to tell you about my friends over at Patriot Mobile. Call them at 972-PATRIOT or go to patriotmobile.com/Chad. They are America's only Christian conservative wireless provider, and they have a cell package, a coverage plan that will fit your family. I guarantee it. If you talk to them, they have a 100% U.S.-based customer service team. Fantastic folks, fantastic company. They use the same cell towers as the big three. The difference is they don't send any of your money when you pay your bill to those leftist, crazy, progressive causes because they have the same values that you do. They believe in the Constitution and Bill of Rights, and they support our first responder heroes as well as our military men and women. And if you are active duty military or a veteran or first responder, they'll give you a free activation. And if you use promo code CHAD, I spell it Chad, they'll give you the first month free. So make sure you tell them I sent you. Glenn Story and the folks over at Patriot Mobile have built an incredible company. I'm so proud of that. They're friends, partners, and I'm glad to know them. So check them out, patriotmobile.com/Chad, or call them on the phone, 972-PATRIOT, and you'll understand the person on the other side. You know why? Because they're American and they speak English. I have been considering a lot of things in life in recent days. You know, you get a little bit older, and you start looking back on your life, and you go, where did it go? What happened to those days? Did you make a dent in this world? And did you leave a legacy? Because, as I've told you many, many times, if you know who you are and know where you're going, know where you came from, then you should know what you're going to leave behind. And I think those are things that we got to consider, because the Bible says a righteous man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. And that's not just about money. That's about name and legacy, as I said. It's about reputation. It's about wisdom and knowledge, and what are you passing down. Those are important things. And none of us have a guidebook. And us men wouldn't read it anyway, because we don't read the directions, right? So we would just leave that on the counter while we try to put the thing together. We're trying to put together life and trying to make sure that it counts for something, trying to leave a mark, trying not to mess it up. And we all mess up to some degree. And these days our mess ups are amplified because everybody wants to get on the internet and point them out and talk about them constantly. And that's not fair. We're living under scrutiny. We're living in a culture that wants to cancel you for your mistakes. And we're trying to punch through the smoke. We're trying to push through and figure out, is what we're doing significant for this life, but also is it significant for eternity? I just heard, Trump say the other day that he hopes that by ending these wars and saving lives, that's going to get him into heaven. It won't. It won't, unless he knows Jesus Christ. Now, it's an honorable thing. It's a great thing for him to do and to pursue. It's a noble thing. It's a holy thing for him to do. But that's not what gets you into heaven. That's not what counts for eternity. It's your relationship with Christ. But besides that, I can appreciate the fact that he says, hey, I'm at the end of my life, and I'm trying to do the right things. Maybe he's trying to make up for past sins, past mistakes, past scars. I don't know. But we all get to that point where we say, I hope what I'm doing will at least count in eternity. And Jesus actually said any cup of water offered in his name, is going to wash upon the shores of eternity. It's going to be remembered for eternity, and that's an amazing thing. So I'm encouraging everybody, like I'm encouraging myself in these days, to do the right things, pursue the right things, to love God, pursue holiness, pursue justice, pursue righteousness, pursue mercy, forgive when you can. And look on your life, look back at your life and just say, this is something that I felt was important for me to do, and here's why I did it. And I think that maybe in these days, you men especially, need to start writing your story down. You need to start putting down some significant highlights of your life. If nothing else, for your kids, for your legacy, for your grandkids, put it down and write those things down. Because you have lived a good life. You've lived a great life. You were blessed enough to be here. God gave you the breath and the heartbeat that you have, and that's worth something, and it's worth knowing. So I want to encourage you guys to do that, all right? Do that. Let's get past the headlines. We can talk about the things that are going on in the world, but at the end of the day, it's about you. It's about your relationship with God, your relationship with your family, and the life that you've lived. And so I want to maybe encourage you a little bit today, and we'll get into that in just a moment. But before we do, take care of your future with my friends over at Birch Gold. Please do me the honor of texting CHAD to 989898. The folks over at Birch Gold, they got an A-plus rating with the Better Business Bureau. They will back up your retirement plan with gold, physical gold. That's a commodity that's not going anywhere. In fact, the value of it's only going up, and now is a good time to talk to them. Now is a very good time to talk to them. So if you've got an old 401k IRA or some savings that's sitting there, text them, CHAD to 989898. They want to call you on the phone. They're going to get your address, and they want to send you a free, no-obligation information kit on how you can build a tax-sheltered IRA backed by gold. They have tens of thousands of satisfied customers, and trust me when I tell you they're good people. You can trust them. But we need you. We need you to show them some support right now by texting Chad to 989898. Birch Gold, they're good folks, and you can trust them. But do me a favor today and text Chad to 989898. Okay, please. It's almost like the show really needs you to do that. So go do it. Please go do it. History is a funny thing. It's sometimes the stories that shaped our world are dramatic and tragic. Those legacies that are left behind, we really need to tell certain stories in order to remember them. But so many of them are lost or forgotten. And sometimes those stories are kind of comical until you realize the depth of what actually happened and what occurred. You have those hidden stories that kind of make you stop. And Paul Harvey, the great radio legend, he made a career out of telling you the rest of the story, those hidden stories that people didn't know about. And all of those stories, if you're paying attention, point us right back to the truth that we're talking about. A lot of it points you right back to the truth of the Bible or God's Word or some kind of life lesson that you need. Today, I want to take you on a little ride through one of the strangest disasters in American history and kind of share a feel-good story, because I was reading about this last night, and it's a story of faith and ingenuity, and then, kind of land the plane with something that motivates you a little bit. 1919. 106 years ago, Boston, Massachusetts, cold January day, people going about their business, kids walking home from school, horses pulling wagons, workers unloading the freight, the train whistles in the back. And then without a warning, a massive iron tank just burst open. Now, you think I'm talking about water or oil, but this tank was filled with, what would you think it's filled with? Some of you may have heard this story. It's interesting. It was filled with molasses. Molasses. Get this. 2.5 million gallons of molasses. What a mess. It released a 25-foot wall of syrup moving at about 35 miles an hour. It crushed buildings. It knocked down train tracks. It swept people and horses off their feet, trapped everything in its path. And unfortunately, tragically, 21 people were killed and more than 150 people were injured. We talk about floods. This was the Great Molasses Flood. And when you talk about it, it almost sounds silly. I mean, something you drizzle on pancakes became a tidal wave of destruction. But the lesson that you can take from that, as I was reading this, is kind of sobering because it happened not just because the tank burst, but because the pressure had been building for a long time and the metal was too thin. The warnings that it was going to happen were ignored, and the pressure inside kept rising until one day it just couldn't be contained. And here's what I want you to take away from telling you this story. When pressure builds up in our culture, in our politics, or in our hearts, it's only a matter of time before something spills out. And whatever spills out, something that's intended to be something very sweet, something very kind, something very good, something very enjoyable, something very noble, it becomes destruction and affects everybody around you. Now, I want you to think about that for a second. What is in our world, what is in our culture that's there that you should be able to enjoy, whether it's your faith, whether it is our society, it's our culture, our freedoms, all those things are intended to be good things. But there's a pressure valve that we're ignoring on all of those things. And eventually, when it bursts, it comes out in the wrong way. So I want you to be careful. I'm using this as an example, obviously, but I want you to be careful with how you handle a lot of these things that are intended to be good, that are building pressure in your life. When you think of some people in history, I was reading last week about a few different stories of different folks, but I was reading about George Washington Carver. You've heard of him, the guy that did all the stuff with the peanut, born into slavery during the Civil War. And something people don't know is he was very sickly and he was frail. He was considered the least likely to do anything great. But he loved learning. He actually loved the Lord. And he prayed daily for wisdom. And here's the part most people don't know. He believed God himself reveals secrets of creation to him. And he's got one recorded prayer where he said, Lord, teach me the secrets of the peanut. The secrets of the peanut, the thing that we're now talking about having allergies to, because I won't get into that. But God obviously gave him some secrets to the peanut. He discovered over 300 uses for a peanut: oils, plastics, cosmetics, even fuel, revolutionized agriculture for poor Southern farmers who had been stuck in the endless cycle of cotton. He gave them a way forward. He actually revamped and rebooted an economy. Now, Thomas Edison literally offered him a 6-figure salary back in the day. I mean, back in the early 1900s. But George Washington Carver said no. He said his purpose was not to make money, but to serve God and help other people. He believed the peanut and all creation was God's classroom, and his job was just to share the lesson. Now, that's the kind of story that makes you kind of stop and smile, and you say, here's a guy who poured out wisdom and faith and blessing instead of bitterness, despite every reason to become hardened by life. Now, compare those two stories that I just gave you. The molasses flood, something that was intended to be very, very good, a great product, something that was sweet, that enhanced life, that built up so much pressure that it exploded. And then you take a guy who kept everything so simple that he said, God, I don't want the money. Just show me what I can do with a peanut. That's a life that you don't live under pressure, right? You're just saying, I'm here to do what God's teaching me and to share what God's teaching me, there's a very calming thing to all of that. There's something that ultimately leads to a blessed life, regardless of you have every right to be bitter. You had this thing, this molasses that was intended to be sweet that became destructive. And then you have a guy who was born into a bitter lifestyle, had every reason to be bitter and created something sweet. Which one are you going to be? What's going to happen in your life? Well, let me try to see if we can land this plane and bring all this together, because I know right now you might be a little confused. If you look in your Bible in John chapter 7, particularly verses 37 and 38, Jesus is at the Feast of Tabernacles, and he says, if anyone thirsts, let him come to me and drink. Whoever believes in me, as the scripture has said, out of his heart will flow rivers of living water. Now, I want you to notice the contrast. In Boston, the pressure built up in that molasses tank until destruction poured out. In George Washington Carver, you had faith that built up until blessing poured out. And now Jesus ties all this together, and he says, if you believe in me, if you're connected to me, rivers of living water will flow out of you. He's talking about the Spirit of God. That's the difference. Pressure without Christ spills into anger, fear, bitterness, addiction, self-destruction, and just destruction. But pressure released into the hands of Christ becomes testimony and joy and generosity and peace. I hope you can see the difference there. You could be born into the worst of circumstances, like George Washington Carver, born into slavery, physically frail, sickly, voted least likely to succeed, and give the world these amazing things. Or you can be something that nobody's thinking about because you're like, hey, that's the big water tank over there. That's the molasses tank over there. It's filled with all of this blessing, but it becomes destructive. Which do you want to be? Because you're sitting there at a crossroads today. As you head into this weekend, as you head into another day, what do you want to be? Some of you are about to explode. Trust me, I know. I've recently gotten a health diagnosis that is not great. And I'm guaranteeing you it's because of some stresses that I've been carrying. And I am looking at that and saying, okay, God, what now? What are we going to do here? Well, we're going to pray about it. We're going to pray about it, and we're going to pray that no matter what comes, it's going to be a blessing to other people. I'm not going to operate in bitterness. I'm not going to operate in anger. I'm not going to operate in frustration. I'm not going to do that. Whatever happens to me, whatever is allowed to come into my life, and this works for you too, whatever is allowed to come into our life is something that it's been filtered through the hands of God. And Romans 8:28 says that all things work together for good for those who love the Lord and are called according to his purposes. So if it touches your life, it's been filtered through his hands, and he intends to use it ultimately for his glory. So I'm praying not for survival, I'm praying for overflow. And too many of us are just trying to make it through. But that's not what Jesus promised. Jesus didn't promise for us to just make it through. He promised rivers of living water. That's not a drip. That's not a spurt. It's not a trickle. I'm praying that my life, that your life overflows onto others with joy and peace and encouragement. Life's short, man. You only get one. Make it the absolute best that you can possibly make it. I even left my little battery candles on from this morning for before the noise, because I'm like, I need those little candles flickering. I want to feel good. Carry over some of that before the noise spirit. You know what I'm saying? When I'm talking to you today, I want you to serve with what you already have. George Washington Carver, he didn't invent the peanut. He asked God what was hidden inside of it. So I want you to look at what you have around you and say, God, these circumstances, I didn't create them. But what can I find in them that brings you glory? See, you don't need more money. You think you do, but you don't. You don't need more money. You don't breathe money. You don't need more talent. You don't need more opportunity. You already have something in your hands that if you put it in God's hands, God can use to bless somebody else. And he can multiply all of it. He can multiply your money. He can multiply your talent. He can multiply your opportunities. But you got to let him do it. There's some pressure in your life. All of us. You got to release that. How do you do it? You do it with prayer. You don't wait till the tank bursts. Every day, I want you to hand your stress and your frustrations to the Lord. It's better to release them at the altar than to let them explode on your family or your coworkers or your own health. You need to talk to Jesus, man. Because sometimes we get frustrated and we take it out on others around us. Don't be like that molasses tank. So here's the big picture today, and I'm going to leave you alone with this. Life's going to squeeze you. No way around it. Whether it's from our own faults, our own mistakes, whatever, just circumstances that come, life's going to squeeze you. Pressure is inevitable. What's inside you will eventually come out. People say, well, I don't know where that came from. Well, it came from inside you. It was there. I mean, it's like a tube of toothpaste. When you squeeze it, what's in there is going to come out. If you got anger issues, it's going to come out. If you got stress or you got grief, it's going to come out. But the same works for joy. The same works for goodness. The same works for gentleness. When you get squeezed, what's going to come out of you? It's going to eventually come out. The question is, when it does, is it going to be sticky destruction that traps and suffocates everything around you, or is it going to be rivers of living water that refresh and give life? Because the world doesn't need more molasses floods. It doesn't need more bitterness and anger and resentment. It doesn't need more unforgiveness and resentment. It doesn't need that. It doesn't need that. What it needs is men and women full of the Spirit, overflowing with the life of Christ. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. Somebody left a comment on Facebook and said, did you have some big life-altering event or something like that? And I was like, well, it's a lot of them, actually. It's 50 years of them. And, I've been doing my best to walk with God and honor God for a long time. Even at the times when I was in my rebellion, I knew that God was there. And you got to understand, my rebellion wasn't against God. My rebellion was against just things that had made me cynical in this life. But I still felt like I was doing the things that I could to honor God. But I wasn't taking you with me. Now I'm taking you with me. If you're willing to hang in there with me, I'm taking you on this journey with me, and I'm letting people pull back the curtain in the last year and a half, and I'm letting people kind of peek inside of what my relationship with Christ is. It's always been there, but now I'm letting you see it. And I want you to overflow to the point where you're ready to take some people with you as well. I'm talking to you men particularly, because you men, y'all are the ones that keep it all cloistered up in secret. You don't want to let anything out. You don't want to let your emotions out. When we do the before the noise, I'll break down into tears. People who know me and they're close to me on a personal level, they've seen me weep. They've seen me cry. They've seen the tears well up in my eyes sitting there at a dinner table while I'm trying to tell something about what God's doing in my life or in others. And I'm okay with that. I'm not ashamed of it at all. Because when God's doing something, it becomes an overflow in your life that you want to take others with you. That's what Jesus was talking about when he said, out of you is going to flow rivers of living water. People are going to be touched by it. It's contagious. I want you today to start with what you have. Let God turn the pressure in your life into something sweet, into power, into purpose, into rivers of living water. I think that you're ready for that. I think you are tired of the complaining. You're tired of the anger. You're tired of the frustration. You're tired of it. I am. And so I'm letting it go. I'm truly letting it go. And I want all of you to get away from that sticky situation, that tragedy that's just waiting to happen. I want you to look like George Washington Carver did. I want you to look at what's in your life right now. And I want you to, with faith, say, I'm not in this for glory. I'm not in this for money. I'm not in this for riches. I'm not in this for any of this stuff. I just want rivers of living water to flow out of me. What else can we do? What else can we do? You have this one life, and then it's gone, and you step into eternity. What are you going to leave behind? I pray that the people in your life, your family, your friends, your community, get washed by the overflow of joy and gladness that was the legacy of you. I hope you know how much I love you. I hope you know how much that doing all of these things is a labor of love. Someone recently tried to ridicule me because of what I do. This is a blessing to me. You are a blessing to me. We're going so many places together, and it's going to be good. It's going to be good. Make sure you hit the like. Make sure you hit subscribe. You share this episode. Maybe some other people that you know in your life are in a sticky situation, and they're ready to explode. Share this with them. Let the rivers of living water spill out. Subscribe to the Rumble. Subscribe to the YouTube. And make sure that you are tuned in. We've got some fun rebranding things. We're working really hard behind the scenes. A shout out to my producer, David Medina. Follow him on social media at David Medina PDX. He's got some great new content coming out himself, but he's been working real hard on the rebranding of this show, and it's a labor of love for him as well. And make sure you're following Party Foul at Party Foul Steve. And we're heading into the weekend. I'll see you tomorrow morning on Sarah Gonzalez is texting me something funny. I could see it pop up. She's hilarious. Check me out on Before the Noise tomorrow morning at 8/7 Central. And what else can I say? Follow me on Instagram and on X at Watch Chad. I love y'all so much. Y'all are a blessing to me. I'm praying for you. Please pray for me. And don't worry. It's all going to be okay. Find something out there in your life and make it great to the glory of God. I will talk to you guys in the morning. God bless you. Take care of yourselves. Stay prayed up. And I will see you then. Bye.